Welcome into OutKick, the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays wherever you may be across the country or around the world. Let me just start off right here with this. Brutal weather conditions all over the country, but in particular in my home city of Nashville. We are having a ice storm, the likes of which occurred all the way back in 1994. Half the city basically has no power right now. We've got a couple of extra kids in the house. One of my buddies from law school is in the studio right now because his power's out. He's practicing law, working just across the way from where I am right now. And let me pull up before we get into the NFC and the AFC. Stay safe. And let me just kind of give, for some of you out there who have not seen it, let me give you a contextual analysis of what we're dealing with right now. All over the Southeast, I saw hundreds of thousands of people without power. Again, basically half the city of Nashville is down right now. Here is a sign of what the ice on the roads looks like in Nashville as we speak. This is a semi-truck that completely wiped out, if we can pull that up so you can see it, and took out the interstate sign in Nashville. This is how treacherous the road conditions are right now. We have not left the house here since Friday evening at all. So we've got, I think, 8. My mother-in-law is here. Her power's out. We got 8 people in the Travis house, plus my friend who is practicing law just a little bit away. I think we've got more graphics if you guys just want to rotate them through to show just how crazy the ice is right now on the branches. Look at that right there. I mean, basically an inch of snow right now on this branch. Pretty crazy. So it is very unsafe. I saw where all over Mississippi, everywhere they got hit by ice. I was hoping that we were going to get snow. On Saturday, we got some snow, several inches. It was great. It looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. And then starting Saturday evening, the ice came in. And when we woke up on Sunday morning, it was absolutely brutal. I posted a video of just how much ice is on the branches, but it's crazy. While you're just walking around in Nashville, you will hear a crack, and it sounds a bit like a shotgun going off, and it's just trees completely collapsing. Do we have the video from my old hometown neighborhood of West Haven in Franklin, Tennessee? I posted a video of that. I don't know if we have it pulled up. Maybe we can grab it before the end. But it looks like bombs have been going off everywhere. And effectively, that's what's happening with the trees collapsing and falling apart, disintegrating. I mean, it's a war zone right now. So I want all of you to stay safe. And no, I did a couple. I did a couple of reports for local weather. I went on with I don't think we have. Do we not have any of those? I went on with the local Fox weather and did 2 different reports from my backyard before everything went completely crazy. I got to do a couple of Snowzar reports. I guess we don't have those. But FYI, those are up on my Twitter account, and we will dive into those. Hopefully things will be better sooner rather than later. Okay, let's go into sports. Then we'll come back to Minneapolis. We'll talk more about what happened there. But again, stay safe, stay warm. Thank you to all the hardworking electric service people who are out there braving brutally cold weather temperatures to try to get the power turned back on for many different people out there across the entire South in particular, as ice has descended upon us. All right. I watched I was fortunate my power has stayed on. I was able to watch the NFC and the AFC championship games at the house yesterday. Let's start with the AFC. Look, I thought early on the Broncos had control in this game. And then they passed up on 4th and short. I was saying take the points. And if you were going to go for it on 4th and short, I believe I'm correct. Why didn't they just run like the tush-push play? I was surprised that they didn't do that. If I remember correctly, they dropped Jarrett Stidham back and threw the football. So I think you can doubly question the decisions made by Sean Payton in that scenario, because he could have taken the 3 points. And I don't know to what extent they knew that a blizzard was coming, or how much that just sometimes happens in Denver and they didn't know. But you would think taking points if you knew a blizzard was coming was more important. But in that scenario, I first guessed it. I was watching it with my kids in the house. I said, you got to go tush push. That was a very short amount of yardage that they needed, less than a yard, if I remember correctly. They dropped back Jarrett Stidham and tried to throw the football. I just didn't like the choice there. I thought Stidham started off playing very well. He was well coached up and well prepared for that situation. They get up 7-0. Then they have the messy, so they don't get the points there. They get the stop, the Patriots do. Then they had the messy, what exactly was the ruling play? And I'm still not sure they got that call right. They called it a fumble as opposed to an incomplete pass eventually. Initially, they called it intentional grounding, which I thought was probably the right call. It hasn't gotten as much attention because it's kind of hard to tell in the video. It looks to me like Jarrett Stidham is trying to throw basically a chest pass almost forward, because he did that a couple of times in the game. And he's trying to throw it forward, but the ball gets tipped and then it goes backwards. I think they actually got that call wrong. I think it should have been intentional grounding, not a fumble recovery. If it was a fumble, they blew the whistle because it should have been a scoop and score touchdown. Regardless, that really changed the dynamics of the game. Then you had a bunch of missed field goals. The weather conditions got brutal. I actually like the snow game. It was fun to watch from the comfort of my couch. I also think that those are going to become rarities because, by and large, there has been a decision made that the NFL is roaring to such an extent. I'm sure the ratings are going to be through the roof, particularly with the snow impact going on. The NFL has made the decision that really most people want to watch football inside of domes. And so you're going to see more and more of really nice, perfect weather domes. We're going to have one basically in Nashville where I live, and the weather doesn't even typically get that cold during football season. But everybody wants a perfect environment. They can charge more money, it seems to me, when they have a perfect environment. I paid a lot of money for my season tickets in the new Titan Stadium. And so to me, as we kind of look at this and continue to break down where we are headed, I think games in the elements are going to become rarer and rarer. Second half, blizzard comes in. It's basically impossible to move. If you had the wind behind you, as the Patriots did, they were able to make a field goal to take control in that game, and were able to move the ball more successfully than the Broncos did. And ultimately, the Patriots get to the Super Bowl. I like Mike Vrabel. I've loved watching his teams play with the Tennessee Titans. I did not support the decision to fire Mike Vrabel. Guy won the Coach of the Year just a couple of years before. Yes, the Titans were a mess. They got in salary cap difficulty. They had a bunch of whiffs in a row when it came to the overall draft classes. But Mike Vrabel got Ryan Tannehill to win multiple divisions. The Titans were the number one overall seed in, was it the 2020, I think, or 20, maybe it was 2021. Number one overall seed in the 2021 playoffs whenever they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you look at that situation, I told my son at that time, it might be 20 years till we have this opportunity again. But I would have stuck with Mike Vrabel. I wouldn't have fired him. I know the Titans have hired Saleh. But in 1 year, the New England Patriots went from 4-13, I think, to 14-3 or 3-14, whatever the heck it was. Amazing turnaround in 1 year. Gerard Mayo got 1 year as a coach. They fired him. They brought in Mike Vrabel, and everything turned. And so the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. And I do think there is an element out there. I do think there is an element worth considering of better run franchises, and I think Robert Kraft and the Patriots are a well-run franchise, don't have these eternal rebuilds. They get back faster than poorly run franchises. Yes, they may have gotten somewhat lucky with Drake May. Yes, they may have gotten somewhat lucky with the overall draw in the postseason, but they're in the Super Bowl. They're an underdog, but Mike Vrabel, 1 year after being fired, set out for a year, but in his first year back as a head coach, is in the Super Bowl, and it is the eternal curse of my Tennessee Titans. So congratulations to the Patriots getting the win over the Broncos. Blood bank guarantee hit, maybe the easiest under of the year. To be fair, I didn't know that a full-on blizzard was coming. But even if the blizzard hadn't come, it was 7-7, I think, right at the half, or 10-7. It was a game that was not going to hit the over. So blood bank guarantee cashed. We also got the cover from the Patriots. Now, I was wrong. I said don't overthink this. Take the Rams. Matthew Stafford played fantastically well, but Sam Darnold was better in the NFC Championship game. Sam Darnold, our prize picks pick one. We had a good weekend of games, 2.75 to 1. I said both Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford are going to have more than 1.5 touchdown passes. We were right. And I hope we're going to be able to have a fun one for the Super Bowl as well. Before we get into the NFC Championship game, I want you to know Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states. Use code OutKick. You get $50 deposited into your account when you play $5. You can download the app. You can get hooked up. It is a fantastically fun app, and you can play in all 50 states. California, Texas, Georgia, if you're feeling left out. All 50 states, you can sign up and play at Prize Picks. Code OutKick. I'll give you a Super Bowl pick. We're going to be out at the Super Bowl next week. Should be a lot of fun. Can't wait. PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. That is PrizePicks.com, code OutKick to get hooked up and make sure that you have as much fun as possible. That is PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. Okay, NFC Championship game. Sam Darnold balled out. As good as Matthew Stafford was, and I think Matthew Stafford has multiple years still to play. I believe he's 38 years old, maybe his best regular season ever. The Rams were outstanding this year. The offense with Devontae Adams and Puka was nearly unstoppable. It was not the Rams offense that cost them. Rams defense couldn't get off the field. They couldn't cover Jackson Smith and Jigba. Unbelievable. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal saying that he may have had Smith and Jigba the greatest individual season in the history of all wide receivers. If you look at the percentage of yards that he had relative to pass attempts, and they couldn't cover him. He was unstoppable. A lot of big-time throws on third down, a lot of big-time playmaking by JSI. Did I get that right? Or JSN. He was unstoppable. And I give credit to Sam Darnold. I don't know him personally. Seems like a really good person to root for. Disaster with the Jets. Had a redemption year last year with the Vikings. And then this year kicked the door down and ended up in the NFC Championship. Ball knower and genius, ESPN NFL analyst Mina was not pleased with the decision of the Seahawks to sign Sam Darnold. And everybody's imperfect when it comes to making predictions. But I did think this was pretty funny. I want to make sure that I get it right. I'm going to pull it up in real time. And I will make sure that I can read this. Let me go scroll down. I know it's on the screen right now. I can't quite see it. Flat out, the news from Adam Schefter, Geno Smith's being traded to Las Vegas Raiders for a third-round pick per sources. Mina Kimes responds, flat out, this is a terrible move by Seattle. Chances of upgrading are extremely low. Well, the extremely low probability of upgrading did come in, and that was quite the indictment of ball knower Mina Kimes. She also wasn't content with this. On the flip side, this is a great move by the new Raiders regime. Far and away the best option at quarterback and for a third rounder. Yes. What a double whiff. I don't know if ball knower Mina has responded to the double whiff here, but just in case you forgot, the Raiders had the worst record in football this year. They are now drafting number 1 overall and may well get Fernando Mendoza, meaning their choice to give up a third-round pick for Geno Smith was a disaster. Meanwhile, the Seahawks replaced Geno Smith with a significant upgrade in Sam Darnold, and they are now favored to win the Super Bowl. So hopefully Mina will address this double whiff. Your boy misses things all the time. I'm not sure I have ever whiffed on a sports prediction in both directions that badly. And I think Mina is a fan of the Seahawks, which means she knows that team better than most teams. So I don't even think she could go to the Super Bowl. When you whiff like this bad, you should just withdraw and say, you know what? I'm not going to go to the Super Bowl this year to cover it at all because I whiffed too much. But congratulations to Sam Darnold. I am rooting for the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. Not because the Seahawks haven't won the Super Bowl in a while. They did, obviously, with the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson. And I'm sure if you're Russell Wilson, you're never going to stop seeing that interception that he threw late with Pete Carroll when they should have won back-to-back Super Bowls. But in fact, I watched the Seahawks win the Super Bowl in person not too long ago. Doesn't seem that long ago to me, but it was the New York City Super Bowl, New York area Super Bowl back in 2014. If I'm not mistaken. That was the first Super Bowl that I ever went and watched in person. In fact, went with my wife, who was pregnant with our third son at the time. Super fun Super Bowl to go to. But I have got the Seahawks beating the Patriots. There you go, early preview for what I anticipate happening in this Super Bowl. Maybe they can get redemption for, I think it was the 2015 Super Bowl, the next year after the Seahawks beat the Broncos. That was the unstoppable Peyton Manning offense started, if I remember correctly, that Super Bowl did with the safety, with the snap that went past Peyton Manning, went into the end zone. It was basically a disaster from that point in time. And Peyton ended up, 2-2 in Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. Lost that one and lost the one to Drew Brees and the Saints, and then came back and beat Cam Newton and the Panthers in the last, I believe it was, San Francisco Super Bowl, maybe in 2016. I think I got all that right, the year that Cam Newton was the MVP of the league. So Sam Darnold, hard not to root for as we looked at both of those games. Okay, much more significant than what happened in those games was a shooting that took place over the weekend in Minneapolis on Saturday morning that turned into a huge story. So I want to dive into this, and I want to start big picture and move from big picture down to the shooting incident in particular. Okay, let's start big picture because a lot of things have to happen in order for that shooting incident to happen on Saturday morning in Minneapolis. So let's start big picture here. The reason that we have ICE trying to get so many illegals out of the country right now is because Joe Biden let in somewhere around 10 million illegal immigrants into this country during his 4-year tenure as president. Okay? So in 4 years, according to Tom Homan, about 10 million illegals came into the country. Tom Homan told me recently, we did an OutKick interview back, I guess it was last year, but Tom Homan told me that he thinks there are 20 million illegals in the country. Okay? So there's the data out there that says around 2.5 million of them have either voluntarily left or been deported by ICE. My point here is it was Democrats' open border policies that created a necessity for ICE to go and try to get these people out of the country. Now, question that I think is important. What is the right amount of illegal immigrants to allow in the country? My argument is 0. I think we should have no illegal immigrants in the country. And if you agree with me, then the only way to get illegal immigrants out of the country is by either asking them to leave, as ICE has done voluntarily, or arresting them and pulling them out of the country. Okay, so big picture, that is what occurred, and that's why this response is necessary. That's the big picture. And by the way, Trump was elected and won the popular vote very directly explaining that he was going to institute a mass deportation and he was going to secure the southern border. This was probably his signature issue that he ran on in 2024. Okay, so we had an election, and as Barack Obama says, elections have consequences. Second part of this, okay, Texas and Florida, for instance, have had 10x the number of illegal immigrant arrests by ICE, and it hasn't been a major issue because local police and local state officials are cooperating with ICE, and there haven't been any of these viral incidents. The reason why Minneapolis has become this flashpoint is because Tim Walz and Mayor Frey, the governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis, refuse to work in concert with ICE. And they have decided to demonize ICE and encourage protesters to show up and obstruct legitimate and lawful ICE operations. This is a clear intent. They are not just protesting, they are trying to obstruct ICE from doing their job. That is a significant difference, okay? So, why do I think that's happening? I think that they are trying to disguise from the billions of dollars, probably tens of billions of dollars in fraud that was uncovered in Minneapolis. I don't think it is coincidental that the timing has overlapped. Okay? Now, on this particular incident on Saturday, this guy, Alex Peretti, 37 years old, showed up armed at this protest and got involved in obstructing in some way the arrest of a woman and ended up being shot. Okay? So that is the specific that is going on right here. Now, we will see whether this was a lawful shoot or an unlawful shoot. There should be an investigation into it. But what we know is because of Democrats' open border policies and because Mayor Frey and Governor Walz have encouraged these people to obstruct ICE protests, what we know is there was a clear situation created here which was going to lead to conflict. Unfortunately, I think it's going to lead to more conflict, and I am still of the opinion, unfortunately, that innocent ICE agents are going to end up killed over this too, okay? I have always said, nobody hates death more than me. I wish your grandmas never died. I wish there was immortality. I am anti-death, okay? In this situation, as dad, I've got one who's going to turn 18 tomorrow and will become a grown adult. I've got a 15-year-old. I've got an 11-year-old. I talk to my boys all the time about how to interact with law enforcement. And what I always say is comply, comply, comply. If law enforcement is asking you to do something that you believe is not that they're violating your constitutional rights, you can sue afterwards. You can always challenge what law enforcement did to you. What you can't do is get your life back. So comply. I've been saying this since the BLM protest started. I tell all of you to do the exact same thing that I would tell my kids to do and that I do tell my kids to do, which is don't accelerate high-stress situations and create more dangerous situations on the ground, okay? Comply with the instructions of law enforcement. I'm a lawyer. Even if you believe that law enforcement is telling you to do something that violates your constitutional rights, you can sue later, okay? You can challenge their actions later. Comply. Also, I would tell my kids the same thing. Don't take a gun to a protest. There is nothing to have been gained at all by this guy having the gun at the protest. If you know that you are going to be interacting with armed officials, complying with their lawful obligations, when you introduce a weapon yourself into the equation, you are making it more dangerous for yourself. If this guy had not had a gun at that location as part of a protest, as part of obstructing this overall incident, he would be alive today. Okay? That's not anti-Second Amendment. I am a pro-First Amendment, as you know. First Amendment and boobs, only two things that have never let me down. I believe in your right to lawfully protest. Also, I believe in your right to lawfully have guns. That doesn't mean that you should take guns everywhere you go. Okay? In my opinion. And if you know that you're going to be in a dangerous situation and you know that you're going to be stepping in during arrests and trying to stop them from arresting someone, which it appears he was trying to do, that gun made that situation more dangerous. Now, full investigation is going to come out. Was the shooting lawful? Was it unlawful? Based on everything that I have seen, it's hard to tell, candidly. It appears that the gun may have discharged. That is the individual's gun. It appears that there may have been a fear based on that discharge that there was a danger to these ICE agents. Certainly, these ICE agents are anxious. They are operating in a high-stress environment, which has been made more stressful and more dangerous by the decisions of Tim Walz and Mayor Fry to encourage people to show up and get in the face of ICE agents and have their cameras out at all times. And so I think that Mayor Fry and Tim Walz have blood on their hands. I do, because Democrats created this mess with the southern border being wide open. They allowed all these millions of people into our country that have no legal basis to be here. And now they're trying to obstruct the removal of these individuals, many of whom have violent backgrounds. Also, I think that you can't avoid pointing out that we just hit it, as I did yesterday, a 125-year low in murders. Do you think it is fair to point out that the southern border is more secure than it ever has been before, and that we are kicking a lot of violent criminals out of this country? Do you think maybe there's a connection that we hit a 125-year low in overall murders in this country in year one of President Trump? Do you think maybe surging resources in cities like Washington, Memphis, and New Orleans might have had something to do with that? Of course. So President Trump is getting results. Getting results sometimes means that you're going to create messes. So, and unfortunate, tragic results are going to ensue. I think if you just let ICE do their jobs, if you didn't have an organized signal chat to try to obstruct ICE from doing their jobs, we would all be far safer. Now, here is the larger context here too. Tim Walz is a moron. He compared, do we have the video? He compared the situation in Minnesota with Anne Frank, which is so dumb that it makes my head hurt. He previously compared the situation in Minnesota to the Battle of Gettysburg's third day. This is just absolutely bonkers. Here is Tim Walz comparing the Anne Frank, Minnesota situation, and then I believe we have the National Holocaust Museum responding to this moron. Watch.
Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
And here is the Anne Frank Museum. I've been to the Anne Frank Museum. It's a great place. You ever get the opportunity to go in Amsterdam, I would encourage you. Here is the U.S. Holocaust Museum responding to Tim Walz and pointing out that this is moronic and that there is actually nothing that is similar at all to these two situations. And in fact, they said Anne Frank was targeted and murdered solely because she was Jewish. Leaders making false equivalencies to her experience for political purposes is never acceptable. Despite tensions in Minneapolis, exploiting the Holocaust is deeply offensive, especially as anti-Semitism surges. Again, that is, I think, well said there. Now, the NBA decided to cancel their game on Saturday in Minneapolis. And you can put up my tweet discussing this. The Minnesota Wild played. They are in the same area. They are 9.5 miles apart. Also, Nebraska and Minnesota's college basketball game was played. I think this was a transparent political statement by the far left-wing NBA, as I said, to decide that they couldn't play the game on Saturday. They ended up playing the game on Sunday. The NBA Players Association put out a statement. I believe we have that statement as well. this statement for all of you out there that were wondering, well, what does the NBA Players Association think about this shooting? They decided that they had to put out a statement. My perspective on this is nobody cares what the NBA Players Association thinks about this at all. And you can't put out random statements like these when the NBA Players Association has never had a perspective, for instance, on the murder of another nurse, Laken Riley, which was at the hand of illegal immigrants that were led in the country by Joe Biden. So if I had to choose who is a larger victim in the United States today, Laken Riley or Alex Preddy, both of whom are nurses, I would say Laken Riley. She was murdered by an illegal that was kept in the country by Democrats' soft on crime policies. Alex Preddy was shot because he made the decision to go obstruct an ICE operation in Minneapolis. I wish he hadn't been shot. I wish he hadn't had a gun there. I wish he were still alive today. I still wish Renee Good were alive today. Guess what? If those guys had never decided to show up and try to obstruct ICE operations in Minneapolis, they would both still be alive. They made choices, unfortunately bad choices, that led to their deaths. So all of that, I think, factors in here. We've got a couple of more clips that I want to hit. I think the snow videos are in, but let me make sure that I've got everything that I wanted to say about those situations. I think we do. By the way, here's rioters destroying a hotel in Minneapolis for everybody out there who says, oh, this is just peaceful protest. Watch. Okay, here we have two. I want to play Caroline Levitt saying something similar that I just also pointed out on the narrative hypocrisy. We haven't heard from the NBA Players Association on any of this. Watch.
We must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered by illegal alien criminals. Earlier this month, an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our country under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crime.
That was well said by Caroline Levitt there. And let me also point out, I have a quad box during the Clay and Buck radio show. There was no coverage of that press conference by MSNBC, since renamed MS Now. So CNN carries the White House press briefings. So does Fox News. Credit to CNN, credit to Fox News. MSNBC doesn't want their viewers to be challenged narratively by actually seeing some of these facts and some of these arguments. And so if you watch MSNBC, you never see any of this. I think that's clearly intentional, but I also think it is worth mentioning. All right, we've got the video that I wanted to show you. Let's close with encouraging everybody to stay safe in all these places where there is a great deal of ice everywhere. This is my backyard. This is me reporting in the backyard, showing ice on the trees. And we have also, you can watch there. I mean, if you're wondering, like, okay, what does this ice look like? Zoom in there as you see on my video. I was going in close. You can see just how thick the ice is on all those trees. This is a magnolia tree in my backyard. And then we have an evergreen tree in the backyard too that also gives you a sense of just how much ice there is on these branches and why all these trees are falling. And it's going to be such a calamity for the Nashville area and points beyond. I think we also have, do we have the other video? This is kind of giving you an idea of how disastrous this situation is right now. Do we have the video of Franklin, Tennessee that I posted that kind of gives you a sense of just how destructive overall this was? We may not have it, that one as well, but there is at least one video. And let's see if we have the other one. If we do not, then we can close with the girl at the University of Arkansas on the sled. Be safe out there, Southerners. You guys are not, they're both together in one video. Well, I'm not seeing, it's hard for me to see, but we lived in Franklin, Tennessee for a long time. The video of the massive amounts of damage, here it is. The video of the massive amounts of damage right here. This was my street. This was where I lived for the last decade in Franklin, Tennessee. Legitimately my street. Look at how damaged this is. My parents still live in the same neighborhood. This is how bad things are. Be safe, everybody out there. I mean, it looks like a war zone right there, that video that was just played. Okay, and lastly, if you happen to be out sledding, make sure that you don't decide, no matter where you are, this girl we are told is okay, but this is the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. Do not go sledding directly into poles. Maybe pick places where you are not going to run directly into a pole like this girl did there. Make sure that you stay safe. Also, I think we have a funny video. Let's close with a little bit of humor. This is Oklahoma weather girl. People are like, why'd you call her a weather girl? Well, there's weather man. Weather woman is like it sounds like I'm saying Wonder Woman. It's not that easy. To me, weather girl is the best way to say it. You got a weather man, you got a weather girl. That's not trying to be demeaning. I think weather girl sounds better. It's one syllable than weather woman, just like weather man sounds. I guess if it makes you happy, weather boy can also be said, but weather man and weather girl. Here is a weather girl showing the snowfalls in Oklahoma and saying, I asked for your measurements on Facebook. I meant snow. Watch. Good sense of humor here.
We've seen so far. Now, some of this is radar estimates, and then just your reports that you've been sending in. Keep those coming. I made the mistake on Facebook. I asked for your measurements. I meant your snow measurements. Thank you for everybody sending in your measurements, but I do prefer how much snow you have on the ground.
Okay. There you have it. I'll be on Will Kane's show in a little bit. We'll do the OutKick show tomorrow on FS1. Love all of you guys. Stay safe. Appreciate you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Stay warm. Stay safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.